The evening lights of Station Meridian glowed like 1,000 small suns. Traders, travelers, and workers moved between glowing signs and the scent of food drifting from the lower decks. Among them walked a man named Tariq, dressed in a plain gray coat, his eyes calm but sharp. He moved with the quiet confidence of someone who had seen both the top and bottom of life in space. Tariq had recently returned to the station after several years away. Once he had worked in these same corridors as a young cleaner, learning how to survive on little. But things had changed. His old mentor, a kind man named Elder Moen, had passed away, leaving behind a vast network of food hubs and small restaurants that served millions across the station. Moen had trusted Tariq more than anyone. Before his passing, he had written in his will that Tariq would inherit everything, but no one on the station knew that yet. Tariq had chosen not to reveal himself right away. He wanted to see the real face of the business before stepping in. He wanted to understand how people were being treated when they thought no one important was watching. As he walked through the food deck, he stopped at a small, crowded restaurant named Star Bowl Diner. It was one of the hubs once owned by Elder Moen. The air smelled of warm broth and spice, but the energy felt heavy. Tariq noticed a long line of customers waiting near the counter. Behind it stood a tall man with slick hair and a sharp voice. His name tag read Ronan. Ronan barked orders at his workers, tapping his fingers impatiently. "Move faster," he snapped. "Customers don't wait forever." Tariq watched quietly as an older man at the front of the line placed a few coins on the counter to pay for his meal. The coins rolled slightly and one fell to the floor. Ronan sighed loudly, picked up the change and dropped it back into the man's hand as if it were trash. The coins hit the counter and bounced onto the floor again. The old man looked hurt but said nothing. He picked up his coins, gave a small nod, and walked away with his tray. A few customers frowned, whispering quietly, but no one said anything. Ronan smirked and turned back to the next customer. Tariq's chest tightened at the sight. He had been that customer once. Years ago, he had stood on the other side of such counters, treated as invisible because of how simple he looked. The memory stirred something deep in him. He stepped forward in line and waited patiently until it was his turn. When he reached the counter, Ronan gave him a quick, disinterested look. "What do you want?" he said flatly. Tariq smiled softly. "Just a bowl of stew," he said. "And some bread." Ronan tapped the register lazily. 6 credits. Tariq handed over a small handful of coins. Ronan rolled his eyes, counted them too slowly, and muttered, "Still people using coins these days." He dropped the change back into Tariq's hand with the same careless gesture. Some coins slipped and fell again. Tariq bent down, picked them up, and smiled as if nothing had happened. "Thank you," he said. Ronan barely looked at him. He turned to shout another order to the kitchen. "2 stew bowls now," he yelled. Tariq took his meal and found a seat in the corner of the diner. The food was warm but not prepared with care. He could taste the lack of heart in it. As he ate, he watched the workers moving behind the counter. They looked tired. Their eyes were hollow, their steps heavy. The smallest mistake earned a glare or a sharp word from Ronan. A young waitress dropped a cup by accident. It shattered, scattering pieces across the floor. Ronan's voice boomed, "Can't you even hold a cup right?" The girl apologized softly, bending down to clean it. Ronan walked away muttering about useless staff. Tariq finished his meal slowly, thinking about everything he saw. He noticed an old poster on the wall, one that still showed Elder Moen's face from years ago, smiling with pride. Below it were words written in faded ink: "Food with respect, service with heart." Tariq's chest ached. He remembered Moen's voice telling him, "A meal is never just food. It's a bridge between hearts. If you can feed someone with kindness, you can feed the whole world." That spirit was gone from this place. When the crowd thinned, Tariq walked up to the counter again. Ronan looked annoyed to see him. "You need something else?" he asked. Tariq nodded. "Yes," he said softly. "I was wondering, do you like working here?" Ronan frowned. "What kind of question is that?" Tariq's tone stayed calm. "It seems you have a lot of responsibility." "You must care about how this place runs," Ronan snorted. "I care about results, not feelings. People come, they eat, they pay. That's it. I don't have time for smiles and stories." Tariq nodded again, hiding his disappointment. "I see," he said. "Thank you for your time." As he turned to leave, Ronan muttered under his breath, Some people ask the dumbest questions. Tariq paused near the door, looking back once more at the small restaurant. The workers moved like machines. The customers ate in silence, and the air felt heavy. It was a place that had forgotten its soul. He stepped outside and looked at the glowing lights of the deck. Above him, large digital signs advertised the network of restaurants across Station Meridian. Each one carried the same emblem, a golden bowl surrounded by light. The same symbol Elder Moen had created long ago. Tariq placed his hand in his pocket, touching the small metal tag his mentor had given him before passing. It was the master key to the network's control system, the proof of ownership. With that single tag, Tariq could access every restaurant, every account, every piece of data. But he did not use it yet. He wanted to see more. He wanted to understand how far the spirit of kindness had fallen. As he walked through the corridors, he thought of the old man from earlier, the one whose change had been dropped like trash. He decided to find him. After some asking around, he located the man sitting on a bench near the transit gate, slowly eating what was left of his meal. Tariq sat beside him. "The stew was good," he said softly. The old man gave a small smile. "It was fine," he said. "Not like it used to be when Moen was alive. Back then, people cared. Now it's just business." Tariq listened silently. The man continued. "That manager in there, he doesn't respect anyone. But it's fine. The world changes, I suppose." Tariq looked ahead, his voice quiet but steady. "Maybe the world can change again," he said. The man looked at him curiously. "You sound hopeful," he said. "Maybe," Tariq replied. "Hope is still free." They both smiled, sharing a small moment of warmth amid the cold lights of the station. After a while, the man stood and thanked Tariq for the talk before walking away. Tariq watched him go and whispered to himself, "Moen, I see what must be done." He pulled out a small data pad and opened a hidden system menu. His name appeared on the screen beside the company seal. He typed a few commands, accessing the internal management logs of the food network. A list of restaurants appeared, each marked with a status report. Star Bowl Diner showed low customer ratings, staff turnover, and repeated complaints. Tariq stared at it for a moment, then closed the pad. "Tomorrow," he said softly, "the real work begins." He turned back toward the glowing corridors of Station Meridian, his steps calm but firm. The people around him moved without noticing him, unaware that the quiet man in the gray coat was about to change their world. The next day on Station Meridian began like any other. Lights shifted from night mode to the soft glow of morning, and the sound of people filled the halls. Traders set up stalls and travelers hurried to their ships. Among them walked Tariq once again, wearing the same simple gray coat. His steps were calm, but his eyes were sharp and focused. He had not slept much. The images from the diner kept replaying in his mind. The tired workers, the silent customers, and the careless manager who had turned kindness into weakness. Tariq knew he could change it all in an instant by revealing his authority. But he also knew that true change came only when people saw their own reflection and learned from it. He decided to return to Star Bowl Diner, but not as himself. That morning he dressed as a simple delivery worker, carrying a crate of packaged food and kitchen parts. He wanted to see how Ronan behaved when he thought he was dealing with someone lower in position. When Tariq entered the diner, the morning rush had already begun. Ronan was behind the counter, shouting orders and rushing his staff. The cooks moved quickly, their hands shaking slightly. The young waitress from yesterday, Lena, was trying to keep up with orders while avoiding Ronan's glare. Tariq stepped near the back door and knocked. Ronan turned around, frowning. "What do you want?" he asked. "Delivery," Tariq said simply, keeping his tone neutral. Ronan waved a hand impatiently. "Put it down by the kitchen door," he said. "And hurry up, I don't have time to sign anything." Tariq placed the crate down carefully. "I just need your confirmation code," he said politely. Ronan rolled his eyes. "You people always need something. Just leave it and go. I'll confirm it later." Tariq gave a small nod, pretending to accept it, but inside he was noting every word, every tone. He looked around quietly. The floors were clean, but the air was tense. The staff moved like shadows, avoiding the manager's eyes. When the rush slowed, Tariq noticed Lena standing near the counter, rubbing her arm. She had a small burn mark from a kitchen accident. He stepped closer and asked softly, "Are you all right?" She looked up, surprised by his kind tone. "I'm fine," she said quickly. "Just got too close to the stove." "Doesn't your manager keep burn cream in the back room?" Tariq asked. She smiled weakly. "We ran out last week." I told him, but he said it's not important. Tariq nodded slowly. "You should take care of it anyway. Your hands are important for your work." Before Lena could answer, Ronan's voice cut through the air. "You there!" he shouted. "Stop talking and finish those orders." Lena hurried off. Tariq remained calm. He looked at Ronan and gave a small, polite bow. "You run this place with a strong hand," he said. Ronan smirked. "Someone has to. People only work when they fear losing something." Tariq nodded thoughtfully. "And what about respect?" he asked. Ronan frowned. "Respect doesn't pay bills. Results do." With that, he turned away. Tariq said nothing more. He finished the fake delivery and walked out quietly. But as he stepped outside, he felt more determined. He had seen enough to confirm that something was deeply wrong. Later that day, Tariq made his way to the Central Food Network office, a tall building with glowing panels that stretched toward the ceiling. Inside, he was greeted by the receptionist, who didn't recognize him. "Can I help you?" she asked politely. Tariq smiled. "I have an appointment with the audit department," he said. Moments later, he entered a meeting room where two officials waited, a woman named Mira, the head of operations, and a man named Dalen, who handled inspections. They both stood when he entered. Mira smiled. "You must be Mr. Tariq," she said. "We've been waiting for you." Dalen added, "It's an honor. Elder Moen spoke very highly of you." Tariq returned the smile. "Thank you. I came quietly because I wanted to see how the network truly runs without anyone knowing who I am." Mira nodded. "And what did you find?" Tariq's expression grew serious. "Some of our branches have lost their purpose. The workers are tired. The customers are unhappy. The managers have forgotten what this network stands for. They have turned it into a business without heart." Dalen sighed. "We suspected that. But with over 200 food hubs, it's hard to monitor everyone." Tariq leaned forward. "That's about to change. I want a full inspection across the network. No warnings, no special treatment. I want to see who truly serves with respect and who only pretends." Mira smiled slightly. "That will shake things up. The managers won't like it." "They don't need to like it," Tariq said calmly. "They need to remember what this company was built on. Humanity and fairness." Dalen opened a holographic tablet. "Should we start with Starbowl Diner?" Tariq nodded. "Yes, but keep my name out of it. I'll visit there again tomorrow, but this time I'll see how they react to an inspection without warning." That night, Tariq sat alone in his small cabin, reviewing old videos of Elder Moen giving speeches about compassion and work. He listened to the old man's words again and again. "Power is not given to rule others. It is given to lift them up." Tariq whispered softly, "I will not fail you." The next morning came quickly. Tariq arrived at Starbowl Diner again, this time with two inspectors from the audit team. They wore plain clothes to keep things discreet. The moment Ronan saw them walk in with clipboards, his smile disappeared. "Inspection," one of them said, flashing an official badge. Ronan's face paled. "Now hold on, I didn't get any notice," the inspector replied firmly. "It's a random check. Corporate orders." Tariq stood near the door, pretending to be just another customer. He watched as the inspectors moved through the diner, checking equipment, safety logs, and staff reports. Ronan tried to look confident, but his nervousness showed in his shaking hands. Lena and the other workers looked confused but quietly relieved. It was the first time someone from corporate had cared enough to look around. One of the inspectors found expired supplies in a storage crate. Another discovered missing safety records. Ronan tried to explain, but the excuses were weak. When the inspection ended, the lead inspector said, "You'll receive a full report by the end of the day. Until then, you are to make immediate corrections." Ronan forced a smile. "Of course. Thank you for visiting." The inspectors left, and Tariq followed quietly behind them. From the corner of his eye, he saw Ronan's mask of politeness drop. The manager slammed a box on the counter and shouted at his staff. "You see what happens when you don't follow my orders," Lena whispered softly. "But it wasn't our fault." Ronan glared. "Don't talk back." Before Tariq could say anything, one of the inspectors stepped forward again. "Sir, everything you say in this diner is recorded for follow-up reports," he said sternly. Ronan froze. "I didn't mean anything by it." Tariq's lips curved slightly. Justice was starting to move. Later, in the quiet hallway outside, the inspector turned to Tariq. "He's a tough one. You sure you want to give him another chance?" Tariq nodded. "Everyone deserves a chance to change, but not everyone will use it. I want to see what kind of man he truly is." As they parted ways, Tariq made one more stop before heading home. He visited a nearby workers' center, where he donated new kitchen gear and safety supplies under an anonymous name. When the volunteers thanked him, he only smiled and said, "Use it where kindness has been forgotten." Back at Starbowl Diner, Ronan spent the rest of the day pacing in frustration. He couldn't stop thinking about the inspection. "Who sent them?" he muttered. "Why now?" He looked around his diner, suddenly noticing how quiet it had become. The customers were fewer. The workers avoided his gaze. He felt uneasy for the first time in a long while. That night, when the diner closed, Ronan sat alone at the counter. He stared at the faded poster of Elder Moen and the slogan below it. For some reason, the words bothered him more than before. "Food with respect, service with heart," he whispered to himself. "Respect doesn't keep a business running, or does it?" The question lingered in his mind as the lights dimmed. Across the deck, Tariq watched through the diner's glass wall. He could see Ronan sitting there silent and thoughtful. For the first time, the manager didn't look arrogant. He looked uncertain. Tariq smiled faintly. "Good," he said quietly. "Let the lesson begin." He turned and walked away into the glowing lights of the station, ready to take the next step in restoring what humanity had lost. The day after the inspection, the atmosphere inside Starbowl Diner was different. The workers moved more carefully, whispering to each other about what had happened. The customers noticed the tension, and some even avoided the diner altogether. The once steady rhythm of chatter and clinking dishes had turned into a strange silence. Ronan arrived early, hoping to prove that he could fix things before the report reached corporate. He paced behind the counter, checking equipment and shouting small orders. "Clean the tables faster," he said. "Make sure everything looks perfect." Lena nodded quickly, her hands trembling as she wiped the counter. Ronan's face was tight with stress. He kept glancing at the clock, waiting for a message or a call that might decide his future. By midday, Tariq walked past the diner, observing quietly from outside. He wore a simple jacket and carried a data pad like an ordinary customer. He could see that something had changed inside. The staff were nervous, but Ronan's usual arrogance had faded. Still, Tariq could sense that fear, not understanding, was driving him. He decided to enter. When Tariq stepped through the door, Ronan straightened his back and forced a smile. "Welcome," he said in a rehearsed tone. "How can I help you today?" "I'll have the special," Tariq replied calmly. As Tariq waited for his meal, he noticed the workers glancing at him curiously. One of them whispered softly to another, "That's the man who was here during the inspection." The whisper spread quietly, but Tariq pretended not to notice. When the food arrived, Tariq ate slowly, watching the room. The taste was the same as before, plain and mechanical. It had no heart. He finished his meal and stood to pay. When he handed the credits, Ronan took them gently this time, counting with care. Tariq smiled faintly. "Better," he said. Ronan frowned. "Better what, your manners?" Tariq said softly. Ronan hesitated. "Look, about the other day," he began, but Tariq raised a hand. "No need," he said kindly. "Just remember, respect doesn't cost anything, but it can change everything." He turned to leave, and as he walked out, Ronan stared after him. Something in Tariq's calm tone made him uneasy. He didn't know who this man really was, but his words felt heavier than they sounded. Later that afternoon, a message arrived on Ronan's console. It was from the Central Food Network office. He opened it nervously. The report from the inspection was displayed in glowing letters. Status: failing violations, unsafe storage, expired supplies, unfair work conditions review. Scheduled. 72 hours. Ronan's stomach sank. He read the words again and again. If the review went badly, he would lose his position. He slammed his fist on the counter in frustration. "This can't be happening," he muttered. Lena stepped forward carefully. "Sir, maybe if we clean everything and fix the reports, we can pass next time," she said softly. Ronan glared at her, then stopped. Her tone wasn't defiant. It was hopeful. For the first time, he realized she was trying to help, not challenge him. He sighed heavily and rubbed his face. Maybe you're right, he said. We'll work on it. But it has to look perfect before they come back. For the next 2 days, the diner became a whirlwind of cleaning and repairs. The staff worked together, repainting the walls, scrubbing the kitchen, replacing broken equipment. Tariq visited quietly each day, watching from a distance. He saw how hard the workers tried while Ronan struggled to keep control of his pride and temper. On the 3rd day, the review team arrived again. This time they brought with them an unmarked observer, Tariq himself, hidden under the role of a corporate evaluator. Ronan greeted them nervously but politely. "Welcome back," he said. "We've made several improvements." The inspectors nodded and began their checks. They noted the clean kitchen, organized supplies, and improved records. But they also interviewed the staff, asking about their work conditions. Lena spoke carefully, not wanting to cause trouble. "We cleaned a lot," she said. "Things are better now," the inspector asked. "Do you feel respected here?" Lena paused. Her eyes moved toward Ronan, who stood nearby, pretending not to listen. She looked back at the inspector. "Sometimes yes, sometimes no," she said truthfully. Ronan's jaw tightened, but he stayed silent. Tariq watched closely, seeing the struggle inside the manager's eyes. After a long inspection, the team stepped aside to review their notes. Ronan wiped sweat from his forehead and tried to smile. "So," he asked, "how did we do this time?" One inspector replied, "It's better, but there's still a long way to go. The final report will depend on management review." Ronan nodded stiffly. "I understand." Tariq spoke for the first time, his tone calm but clear. "Improvement is good. But do you think fear made them work harder or something else?" Ronan looked at him sharply. "What do you mean?" "Fear can fix a problem for a week," Tariq said. "Respect can fix it forever." Ronan frowned, unsure how to respond. "Who are you exactly?" he asked. "Just someone who believes in people," Tariq said simply. That evening, after the team left, Ronan sat alone in his office, staring at the wall. He thought about Tariq's words and the faces of his workers. For years he had believed strength meant control, but now he saw control only brought silence, not respect. Meanwhile, across the station, Tariq returned to the central office. Mira greeted him with a smile. "Your plan is working," she said. "The inspection forced him to see himself," Tariq nodded. "He's beginning to question, but not enough yet. I want to give him one more test." Mira tilted her head. "What kind of test?" "The kind that reveals what he values most," Tariq said. "We will send a report to all branch managers that a mystery investor is visiting the station, someone who might buy out struggling locations." Mira smiled. You want to see how he reacts when he thinks money is on the line?" "Exactly," Tariq said. "If he values profit over people, he will fail again." The next morning, news spread quickly among the restaurant managers. A powerful investor was touring the deck. Rumors flew that this person could turn any diner into a premium franchise. Ronan heard it too and immediately began making plans. He ordered new uniforms, replaced the old sign, and told the staff to smile more. When Tariq entered the diner later that day, dressed in a dark coat and carrying a business tablet, everyone straightened up. Ronan rushed forward with a bright fake smile. "Welcome to Starbowl Diner," he said cheerfully. "We're one of the best in this district." Tariq looked around calmly. "So I've heard," he said. "Tell me, what makes your diner special?" Ronan hesitated, then said, "We serve the fastest meals and make the highest profit margins in the area." Tariq raised an eyebrow. "Is that what makes a restaurant special?" Ronan laughed nervously. "Well, of course, we also care about our customers." "Do you?" Tariq asked softly. "Would you recognize a regular if he walked in now?" Ronan blinked. "I suppose so." Tariq smiled faintly. "Then you might remember me." Ronan stared for a long moment. The calm face, the quiet voice, it clicked. "You," he whispered. "Yes," Tariq said. "The man whose change you dropped like trash." Ronan's face went pale. His voice stammered. "I didn't mean—" Tariq held up a hand. "I know, but intent is not the same as action. You had power and you used it without thought. That is the heart of the problem." The diner went silent. The workers and customers listened, unsure what was happening. Tariq continued, his tone steady. "I came here not to punish you, but to see if you could change. You cleaned the place, but you didn't clean your attitude. You gave orders, but you didn't give respect." Ronan swallowed hard. "Who are you really?" he asked quietly. Tariq took a step forward and placed a small metal tag on the counter. The golden emblem of the Food Network shimmered in the light. "I am the new owner," he said. "Elder Moan left everything to me. This network is mine now." Gasps filled the diner. The workers looked at each other in disbelief. Ronan stood frozen, unable to speak. Tariq looked around the room. This place was built on kindness and respect. Those values have been forgotten, but they will return. He turned his eyes back to Ronan. "You have one last chance to prove you belong here. Change not your walls, but your ways." Ronan's lips trembled. "I understand," he said quietly. Tariq nodded once and walked out. The staff stood still for a long time, stunned by what they had just witnessed. That night Ronan couldn't sleep. His mind replayed everything: the old man he had disrespected, the fear he caused his workers, and now the truth about who Tariq was. He looked again at the poster on the wall, the same faded slogan: "Food with respect, service with heart." For the first time he understood its meaning. Respect wasn't about weakness. It was about strength, the kind that lifted others, not crushed them. He stood from his bed and whispered into the quiet air. "Tomorrow I start again." Across the city, Tariq looked out from his office window, gazing at the endless stars outside the station. His reflection stared back at him, calm and resolute. "The lesson has begun," he said softly. He knew that true change never came from punishment. It came from reflection, from the moment someone realized they could be better. And deep down he hoped that Ronan would finally see that. Morning arrived quietly on Station Meridian. The steady hum of the engines echoed through the metal walls, mixing with the faint chatter of people starting their day. Inside Starbowl Diner, the lights flickered on one by one. The staff came in slowly, still unsure how to face the man who had once ruled them with anger but now stood humbled by truth. Ronan was already there, sitting at one of the tables. His usual sharpness was gone. His eyes were tired, but there was something new in them, something close to reflection. The events of the last few days had changed him more than he wanted to admit. He had seen his own pride collapse like a fragile wall, leaving behind only the question that haunted him all night. "What kind of leader am I?" He looked up as Lena walked in, carrying her apron. She hesitated before speaking. "Good morning, sir," she said softly. Ronan managed a small smile. "Good morning, Lena. And please, you don't have to call me sir." "Just Ronan is fine," Lena blinked, surprised. That one sentence felt like a different world. "All right," she said with a small nod. Soon the other workers arrived. Ronan greeted each of them politely, which left them even more shocked. They whispered among themselves, unsure whether this new version of their manager was real or temporary. When the diner opened, Ronan gathered everyone before the first customers came. "Listen," he began. "I know things have been difficult. I haven't treated you well. I thought being strict would make this place better, but all it did was take away your spirit. That ends today." The room was silent. No one dared to move. Ronan continued, his tone steady but humble. "We have one last chance to prove that this diner deserves to stay open. The new owner believes in giving people a second chance. I want us to show him that we can change, but I can't do it alone. I need all of you." For a long moment no one spoke. Then Lena stepped forward. "If you really mean it, we'll help," she said. "But only if you treat us with respect." Ronan nodded. "You have my word." That day marked a new beginning. The staff worked together differently. There was laughter, light conversation, and a sense of teamwork that hadn't been there before. Customers noticed too. They smiled more, and the food even tasted better because it was cooked with care rather than fear. Ronan stayed on his feet the whole day, not as a commander, but as part of the crew. He helped clean tables, carry trays, and even wash dishes when the kitchen got busy. At first, the workers kept glancing at him, waiting for him to lose his temper, but he didn't. He only encouraged them with quiet words. Late in the evening, Tariq returned. He wore the same simple gray coat, blending in with the crowd. He ordered a meal and sat at a corner table just as he had the first day. Ronan saw him and felt his heart tighten. He took a deep breath and walked over himself, holding the tray. When he placed it on the table, his voice was calm and sincere. "Welcome back," he said. Tariq looked up, his expression unreadable. "You brought it yourself," he said. Ronan nodded. "I wanted to. It's my way of saying thank you. You opened my eyes. Tariq studied him quietly. Did I? He asked. Yes, Ronan said. You made me see that I was wrong. I treated people like machines, not like humans. I thought control was strength, but it was only fear. Tariq gave a small nod. And what did you learn instead? That real strength comes from trust, Ronan said without hesitation. When people respect you, they give you their best. When they fear you, they only give you silence. Tariq smiled faintly. Those are good words, but words mean little without action. What have you done since yesterday? Ronan gestured toward the kitchen. We cleaned everything together. We fixed the schedule so no one has to work double shifts anymore. And I promised to split the monthly bonus among all of them, not just keep it for management. Tariq leaned back in his chair. That's a start, he said. But the question remains, will it last once I'm gone? Ronan didn't look away. Yes, he said firmly, because I've learned that this place is more than numbers and profit. It's a part of people's lives. I lost that truth for a long time, but I won't lose it again. For a while they sat in silence. The sound of clinking dishes and quiet laughter filled the room. Tariq looked around, noticing the lightness in the air. The workers moved freely, smiling at each other. Even the customers looked more relaxed. You've changed the atmosphere, Tariq said softly. It feels alive again. Ronan's voice carried quiet pride. It's their work. I only stopped getting in the way. Tariq looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. Good, then it's time you face one last test. Ronan's expression tensed slightly. What kind of test? Tariq's tone stayed calm. Tomorrow, a team from the main office will arrive. They will decide if Starbowl Diner stays open under your management. I will not interfere. Whatever happens, it will depend on how you and your staff perform. Ronan swallowed but nodded. Understood. Tariq stood, placing his payment on the table. Remember, he said softly. Respect is not a show. It's a habit. The next morning came fast. Ronan and the staff prepared early. They checked every table, cleaned every dish, and polished every counter until it shined. But more than that, they encouraged one another, shared smiles, and worked together without fear. When the inspection team arrived, the diner was full of energy. Customers laughed, food smelled rich and warm, and every worker moved with pride. Ronan greeted the inspectors with calm confidence. Welcome, he said. Please take a seat. You can watch us as long as you like. One inspector observed quietly for an hour, taking notes. He ordered food, spoke with customers, and interviewed the workers. Every answer he received told the same story. The diner was not perfect, but it was changing for the better. After the inspection ended, the lead inspector smiled. You've made real progress, he said. It's rare to see such a quick turnaround. Whatever you're doing, keep it up. Ronan bowed slightly. Thank you. We're only just getting started. As the inspectors left, the workers cheered quietly, clapping each other on the back. Lena turned to Ronan with a grin. We did it, she said. Ronan laughed softly, something no one had seen him do before. Yes, we did. All of us. Later that evening, when the diner was quiet again, Tariq returned one final time. He walked in slowly, taking in the sight of smiling faces and clean tables. When Ronan saw him, he walked over with genuine respect. You came back, he said. Tariq nodded. I wanted to see the result. Ronan gestured around. You can see it yourself. They did it. I only guided them. Tariq smiled faintly. And what did you learn through all of this? Ronan looked thoughtful. That leadership is not about standing above others. It's about standing with them. When you lift people up, they lift you higher than any title ever could. Tariq's eyes softened. You sound like Elder Moen now. Ronan smiled sadly. I never met him, but I've seen his face on that poster every day. I think I understand what he wanted now. Tariq took a deep breath and then said, Then I think it's time you met him properly. Ronan blinked. What do you mean? Tariq opened a small case he carried and pulled out a silver holographic disc. When he activated it, a glowing image appeared on the table. It was Elder Moen, smiling warmly as his recorded voice filled the room. If you are watching this, Moen's voice said, then it means the one I trusted most has found another who understands. Remember, a business without kindness is only a machine. A leader without compassion is only a shadow. The hologram faded. Ronan stood frozen, speechless. Tariq looked at him gently. That message was meant for both of us. I wanted to see if his dream could still live here. Now I know it can. Ronan's voice was quiet. Thank you for not giving up on me. Tariq smiled. Everyone deserves a chance to change. You just had to find your own reason. The two men shook hands. The staff watched from afar, smiling as they saw a true partnership forming. For the first time in many years, the diner felt whole. As night fell on Station Meridian, the neon lights reflected off the diner's glass walls. Inside, laughter filled the air as workers shared a small meal together after closing. Ronan joined them, no longer their boss but their equal. Outside, Tariq walked through the busy streets watching the life of the station flow around him. The lesson of Starbowl Diner would spread, he knew. Word would travel across the network that the new owner cared not just about profit, but about people. He stopped for a moment, looking out at the stars beyond the viewing glass. "Elder Moen," he whispered, "your legacy lives on." The next few months brought calm and purpose to Station Meridian. Starbowl Diner, once a forgotten corner of the station, became one of its brightest places. Travelers who stopped by spoke about the warmth they felt there, the smiles that greeted them, and the food that carried something more than flavor. It carried care. Ronan worked every day with a quiet focus. He no longer walked with anger or pride. Instead, his eyes showed patience and gratitude. The staff trusted him now. They joked with him, shared ideas, and made the diner stronger together. What used to be a tense space had turned into a living example of teamwork and respect. Lena noticed the change the most. She had worked there longer than anyone, and she remembered the days when every order came with fear. Now every order came with laughter. "It feels like a family," she told him one afternoon while wiping a table. Ronan smiled gently. "That's what I wanted it to be, a family that learns from its mistakes." News of the diner's transformation spread across the station. Workers from nearby shops came just to see if the stories were true. Even ship captains and engineers stopped by after long shifts, drawn by the feeling of peace the diner gave them. Some said it reminded them of home. One morning, Tariq returned again. He had been traveling to other sectors, checking on the other food hubs across the network. But this visit was different. He didn't come to inspect. He came to see what the diner had become. When he stepped inside, the smell of warm bread and roasted herbs filled the air. The lights glowed softly, and laughter came from a group of miners sitting near the window. A young server welcomed him with a bright smile. "Good morning, sir. Table for one?" "Yes, please," Tariq said with a nod. When Ronan saw him, his face lit up with genuine happiness. He walked over and offered a handshake. "Welcome back, sir." "It's been a while," Tariq smiled. "You don't have to call me sir. I'm only a customer today." Ronan chuckled. "Old habits die slow, but you'll always be special here." They sat together for a while as the diner continued its steady rhythm. Ronan told him about the new community program they had started. Every week, the diner gave free meals to struggling travelers or lonely workers who had nowhere to go. The staff volunteered their time, and customers often donated small credits to help. "It's our way of giving back," Ronan explained. "We all came from hard places. We know what it means to feel forgotten." Tariq nodded with pride. That was the dream. Not just good food, but good hearts. They looked around as Lena brought 2 plates of food. "Compliments of the kitchen," she said with a grin. "You helped make this place what it is." As they ate, Tariq asked, "Do you ever think about what came before?" "When things were different," Ronan nodded slowly. "Every day, but not with shame anymore. I think of it as a reminder of where not to return. Without those mistakes, I would never have learned." Tariq smiled. "That is wisdom, and it's rare." While they spoke, a small group of young workers entered the diner. They were dressed in station uniforms and carried data pads. They looked around with wide eyes, whispering excitedly. Ronan noticed them and walked over. "Welcome. Is this your first time here?" One of them, a shy boy, nodded. "Yes, sir. Our supervisor told us about this place. He said it used to be a mess but turned into something amazing. We wanted to see for ourselves." Ronan laughed softly. "Then you came to the right place. Sit anywhere you like." The boy hesitated. "How did you change everything, sir?" Ronan paused, looking back toward Tariq, who watched quietly from the corner. "It wasn't me alone. It was all of us. We decided to stop treating this job as punishment and start seeing it as pride. Respect changed everything." The young workers nodded, inspired. They took their seats and ordered food, talking eagerly about building something similar in their own section of the station. When they left, Tariq stood and approached Ronan again. You have no idea how far that moment will reach, he said softly. Change starts small, but it spreads faster than light, Ronan smiled. That's all I wanted, to make something that lasts. As weeks passed, more good things followed. The Central Council of Station Meridian awarded Starbowl Diner a recognition plaque for outstanding service and community impact. It wasn't just for the food, but for the kindness they had shown to every visitor. The ceremony was simple. A small crowd gathered outside the diner as the council representative handed the plaque to Ronan. Reporters recorded the event, and people cheered when he spoke. This honor belongs to everyone here, Ronan said humbly. We learned that work means more when we do it together. Respect builds bridges where walls once stood. The applause that followed filled the corridor. Even Tariq, standing among the crowd, clapped with quiet pride. Later that evening, after everyone left, Tariq stayed behind. He sat with Ronan at their usual table, the plaque resting beside them. You've done more than I hoped for, Tariq said. Elder Moen would be proud. Ronan's voice softened. I hope so. I never met him, but his vision lives in every choice we make here. Tariq leaned back, his eyes thoughtful. It's time you take the next step. I want you to help guide other hubs in the network. Teach them what you learned here. Ronan looked surprised. You want me to leave Starbowl Diner? Not leave, Tariq said with a gentle smile. Lead. You've proven that transformation is possible. Others need your guidance. Ronan was silent for a moment, thinking. He looked around the diner, at the faces of his team, at the walls filled with new life. If that's what's needed, he said finally, then I'll do it. But I'll never stop being part of this place. It's where I found myself again. Tariq nodded. Then it's settled. You'll train others, and Starbowl Diner will be the model for the entire system. The next day, the announcement was made. Ronan's new title spread across the network, Operations Advisor of the Meridian food chain. His role was to bring unity and fairness to every diner and food hub under Tariq's ownership. The staff celebrated with joy. Lena hugged him and said, You earned it. But promise you'll visit. Ronan smiled warmly. You'll see me often. I'll still come for breakfast. Before he began his new role, Ronan took one last walk through the station at night. He passed the old storage halls, the neon-lit markets, and the quiet docks. He remembered the man he used to be, angry, closed, and full of pride. That man was gone. What remained was someone who had learned that kindness and courage were stronger than fear. He returned to the diner for one final evening meal before his new journey. Tariq joined him, both men sharing quiet satisfaction as they watched the busy tables. The sound of laughter and the smell of food filled the air like music. This is what humanity is made of, Tariq said softly. We fall, we learn, we rise again. Machines can work faster, but only humans can grow. Ronan nodded. That's the real strength of our kind. As the station rotated slowly through the stars, Starbowl Diner's lights shone brighter than any other shop on the deck. To travelers passing through, it was just another restaurant. But to those who knew its story, it was a symbol of hope, a reminder that no matter how far from Earth humanity traveled, respect and compassion would always light the way. Months later, Ronan stood in a new diner on another world. He trained young managers, teaching them how to treat their staff and customers with care. He told them the story of a small diner on Station Meridian that once nearly fell apart, but rose again because people chose to change. Everywhere he went, the lesson spread. Other diners followed his model. The network grew stronger. Tariq visited often, not as a superior but as a friend. Together they built a legacy that reached far beyond food. It reached hearts. One evening, while looking out from a large viewing deck on a distant colony, Ronan watched the stars drift by. He thought of the journey that brought him there, the mistakes, the lessons, and the faces that changed his life. He whispered to himself, change is not a single act. It's a way of living. Far away on Station Meridian, Starbowl Diner continued to glow. The words above its door shined brighter than ever before. Food with respect, service with heart. And through every station, every colony, and every world that followed, those words became a promise that humanity could still shine, no matter how dark the universe became.